All right, cool. We're back with two people on for this week's episode. Steve was kind enough to hold it down last week there.
Yeah, the content of kind of doing a solo tutorial kind of podcast and talking to myself was different. I mean, I was able to fill 30 minutes of space, which I felt like was pretty decent. Got a bunch of different shorts produced as well, which is great. We'll see how those perform. But yeah, we're back, man. We definitely got the shorts up. We got the videos going, so we're at a good cadence and clip. Um, we'll see. I mean, it's interesting. Our shorts consistently get about 500 views, and then they teeter out.
No
Um,
doubt.
which it's interesting if you look at some of the analytics of it all. It's like they shorts tend to get initial shot of if they can get well in the algorithm, and then they'll give it one more push, and it'll pop like 300-400, and then it just plateaus out based on reaction. So they're like doing real time algorithm of this should this be continually rewarded. So
I think we talked about this before, but one of my other buddies who does he's got like a personal brand on Instagram that actually does pretty well for like Disney related stuff, and he said he mentioned something pretty interesting of like the algorithm is testing your content and slowly but surely increasing the reach over time
mm,
to figure out, is this like a target, like I'm sure something can good, just go viral, but like if you're consistently posting about a particular topic, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, they're going to test, okay, now let's put it in front of like this group of people who we think it would work well with, and then like kind of see what happens from there and then expand out. So it's really like testing of would this new audience that we're introducing this content click to open it and then watch. Like those are pretty much like the main two things we're measuring against.
but you have to have the content, enough content for them to test it, right? Because if you're not producing consistent content, then they can't test the audience. Does that make sense?
Because they don't, exactly, because it's like they don't really know what your content's about in a sense, or the types of people that interact with your content. Like Danny Jones, good example, like good podcaster I follow. He's posting all stuff around like aliens, UAP, conspiracy theories. So like they know, okay, these types of people like this type of content. Whereas if you're like brand new, it's like it's not really, it's you don't have much content to work with.
Yeah. So I mean, if I look at the channel here, I just pulled this up. How many? We actually have a lot of shorts. We have
Yeah, we got a
104.
bunch of shorts.
That's crazy. I didn't realize we had that many shorts out there. But if you just kind of go back in time, this is when we first published in May. Barely any views. We get a pop of 500, and then you get a chunk of like 500, but all sub 500. Um, but these are like testing. You can kind of see the frequency start to kind of increase. And then what's kind of interesting is that it peters out quite a bit in August and September. We didn't perform as well. And then we took that break, right? So if we go back and look, like, yeah, and then like September just was not a good month um, initially. But what I'm surprised to see is that our last, let me get to them. So these are still in October. October was just nothing published, really anything good at all. Maybe we'd have one that popped, but yeah, November was decent, and then we took our break, and so we didn't publish anything from December. Oh yeah, we had a little bit of publishing in December, and then we started publishing back in March. Yeah, just a couple
March
weeks.
came out pretty hot there.
Yeah, no, everything is consistently over 400 mark. That's coming across. So I'm not sure if like the delay and then having the content pushed back through, or the topics are just better that we're talking about, because it is kind of initially pushed out to the feed. Because if you look at any of the feeds, yeah, if you look at the feed on this, where it's like this initial pop that happens,
Yep.
and then it goes kind of flatline. We did get one subscriber from this, which was interesting. There was one that was delayed that had a kind of delayed effect, which is interesting. This one, where it didn't initially perform well the first 2 days, and then all of a sudden it popped the third day. Um, going from 50 views to 400 views within an hour or two, um, which is interesting to see that come across. So I'm not, and it's all from the shorts feed too. Like that's where the 95% of the traffic comes through. There's YouTube search that we then get residual stuff. Like I know like the Elon Musk gamer YouTube one, Diablo, that gets searches and gets clicked. So it's kind
That
of a
got some hate
balance.
comments too.
Yeah, I got some, yeah, whatever. Hate comments, comments drive good engagement. But so it's like most of the time your shorts are going to get the information or get exposure through just the feed itself, see how it performs, and then maybe it'll come up in search. But probably not as strongly as video. So that was definitely interesting to kind of see where it comes across. So it's all an experiment to kind of see. I mean, we're not trying to be YouTubers, but YouTube is definitely the place to put podcasts these days.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I think if you're going to do anything, you might as well like get better at it over time. And I feel like we definitely have. And I think we could probably do some things on the channel to improve viewership in general, like probably update the thumbnails and have like a thumbnail like strategy. And, maybe like an intro song, like it's like very bare bones, the pod, which, I kind of like.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that is tough that I've heard that other content creators on YouTube specifically speak to is like if you want to get views, it really comes down to click through rate and then average watch time. So that's what YouTube is really measuring is like how often somebody's like clicking on your content, like how good are you attracting somebody into your video? And then a second piece is like once you get that click through, how long do they actually stay? Like do they actually consume, a large percentage of your content or that specific video? And if you have a strong click through rate and you have a strong viewership of that content, that's going to get a bunch of views because they're then going to promote that and they're then going to push that to their audience. I think
Yeah.
the tough thing though that I've heard content creators speak about is that thumbnail and that video title of like the topic of your video. You need to like speak to that within like the first 5 seconds of your video. Like, for example, I think the last episode that we just dropped does a really good job of that. It's like how to master SEO for Shopify websites or like something along those lines. And then
Yeah.
Steve, you pretty much was like, yo, I'm going to take you through my entire SEO process for Shopify e-commerce websites. So it's like, here was the theme of the video. You click on it and you immediately get right into that topic. I think for some of the thing that's like a little tougher about the podcast sometimes is like there's a couple topics that you might want to hit on, or it's a little bit more like open ended, and you're kind of like slowly easing your way into topics. It's really tough, I think, sometimes to like map everything out to be like, all right, here's like the theme of this video. Here was the thumbnail, and then like
Yeah.
bang, get right into it on
Yeah, but
the episode.
that's the thing. Like with this podcast, though, it's like we're not going for your typical YouTuber where it's like a theme topic each time, right? It's truly just a podcast, and then you get that people that want to come back and watch it again and again. Like the All In podcast, they go all over the place on topics, right? But they get huge views because of the following and
No
etc.
doubt.
For it. Your shorts are kind of your opportunity where you can kind of segment that out. I'm not a fan. I'm not 100% sure if shorts are the right thing to do because yeah, you get 1 to 3 minutes. I think it is that you can do a short
Yeah.
now, and you can discover a topic. But is that enough? And based on how the algorithm works, it just gets shoved into the shorts feed. Maybe it's a better strategy to actually do normal video clips of 3 minutes of every topic that we discuss on here that's very themed. Like, let's say we get on a riff about something. Okay, we cut that, 12-minute clip, and that's the clip that we upload, and
I
we
like that.
segment it itself. But you kind of have to go through and do the post editing and see how it's structured, but we just don't have
I
that.
know, and that's a friggin' process there.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, too, we only started doing YouTube because we have the video content. We might as well put it out there. Let's see if we can get people to actually listen to the podcast. So I think it's a little bit different of like YouTuber typical content versus like podcasting. Because like all the podcasts I go up, they never have themes. Maybe it's a person. You don't know what the hell they're talking about, um, from a topic perspective. So
It'd be interesting for us is like I don't like to your point about the um short videos of like 3 to 12 minutes or like whatever the clip is from the podcast is going to be. I think that would be cool for us to test on YouTube. Um, I also like when guy or just like whoever will do that on their Twitter. Will like they'll post like a spicy 3.5 minute clip from their podcast, and it's like, oh, that was a really interesting theme or topic or whatever. I wanted to check that out. And then I pretty much always like that's how I discover a lot of new YouTube content and like longer form podcast content is like clips on Twitter. And I think we probably could do a better job of like I don't know, maybe getting 2 or 3 clips from a podcast that are longer, whatever that is, a minute, two,
Yeah.
3, 5, 10 minutes, and then having that be a short, but then also like putting it on the personal Twitter accounts. Like I don't
Yeah.
tweet a
Okay.
bunch, but I've also considered like I feel like we have a bunch of good stuff that we talk about on this podcast here that's like actual valuable insight for people who run agencies that would be worth sharing. Just
Yeah. I
don't
want to share
like
it on
just don't
LinkedIn
do a
for some
ton.
reason because we've talked about LinkedIn. I just don't. I don't know. It's just not
It's
an
just
environment.
totally off the LinkedIn game now.
Yeah. So maybe we could promote some stuff on Twitter or X, um, on
But
that
I also
side.
kind of like the concept of like, you know, excuse my language, like fuck it, just like record a podcast, and if it takes off, great. If it doesn't, great. Like it's not. I kind of like that about Rogan. Of like he doesn't really like, hey, listen to my episode. Hey, did you see this? Hey, did you see that? Like I know that's a outlandish comparison there with Rogan. Like not trying to say that's what we're doing, but you know what I mean. It's never like a, hey, check out this crazy clip or like this scheme to like generate engagement and awareness and like build up stuff. It's just like you put out the episode. If you checked it out, great. If you didn't, great. It's all good either way.
Yeah. No. 100%. And I think we can get just more guests on. I know you'll have a guest next week. I think that can help kind of diversify some of the topic conversations that we have. I think that we should try to do like every other a guest, to be honest, and just kind of use our technique of like, hey, we don't really have an agenda with the guest that comes on. That'll naturally kind of bubble up whatever they want to bring to the table, and work through it. So, yeah, I'll put it on my to-do list for sure. Is like, let's just make that a focus of getting guests.
Yeah, we
That's
got a
fun.
guest lineup for next week, which would be nice, and I think we could probably do a better
Kind of
job
less
with that.
work on our end, right? Like,
No
to be
doubt
honest,
about it.
it is.
Just
When you
do
have a
like a
guest
nice little
on, it's cool.
interview and see where the conversation rolls.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Cool. So, I guess if there's any other topics or updates from the week, I don't know, things that you've been going through, work wise, personal wise, anything like that you want to discuss or have a conversation. I'd be curious if anything pops up to mind.
Um, I feel like I got a couple topics that come to mind. Um, some that are a little bit I don't know, repetitive here. Um,
All
that
right.
we
Well, I got a
have
new
talked
one. If you
about.
think I got a new one, if you feel like it's going to be repetitive.
Yeah, yeah. What do you got?
So I am trying to gauge the environment currently of with everything going on politically, which we don't have to get into political conversation by any means, but just in general, the overall sense of people looking to, I guess it's kind of twofold. One, looking for our services, right? How's lead flow and conversations have been with new business from a marketing perspective? But then even for our clients, have we seen any sort of impact, with new political changes going on, lots of things in the headline news? Um, are we feeling something that is out there? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. And the one comment before I let you jump in on this is that I feel like post COVID, like I can't figure it out. Like if there is some sort of like underlying trend that is affecting consumer buying behavior or people looking to sign up for digital marketing services.
Like you're not sure.
Yeah, I can't tell. Like, I mean, I sure, like in COVID, we knew like when things really hit the fan, then obviously people pulled back marketing budgets. We weren't sure what's going on, but then after that, it's like, is this because of what's going on with the election? Is this because of what's going post election? War, this, that, and that can, I know just traditionally before COVID, like if something went down that was pretty heavy, like we would see an impact of like less people looking for digital marketing because got to tie back budgets. Our consumers are a little afraid to spend, etc. There's just so much news story going around. We're like, some clients are doing better than others. We do see still some leads coming in. It's like that kind of fallback of like, oh no, just like people are not looking to buy as much. I just can't really tell right now. It's hard to gauge that, like consumer confidence, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think like obviously dependent on the industry and size of business and everything. I feel like maybe a couple months ago there definitely was some I don't know, more chatter in regards to like being efficient with your spend and budgets and maybe like pausing till post election or Meta had the update with their content review policies. Like
Mm.
there definitely was a couple things in the air that I feel like maybe slowed some things down for a bit. But I don't know. I feel like for the past like couple months here, like more so recently, it's been like business as usual.
I
I
feel like
definitely think the
January
consumer
was.
side,
I feel like January was very slow. Typically, I would see people that would come back, clients, new clients, even consumer behavior post holiday. They seem to be pretty active, but it was very slow. February is a bit sluggish, but I do feel like March, maybe the last couple of weeks, feels a bit more normal, if that makes sense.
yep, that's kind of where, yeah, that's kind of like where I was heading is like as of late, I feel like things have been a bit normal or trending in that direction, whereas before and probably like towards the end of 2024 slowed down big time. Um, I think it was like a bunch of different factors there at play, but I do feel like as of late it is getting back a little bit more. Whereas like end of 2024 things really slowed down.
Yeah, and I bet it's probably a mix, mostly probably the political type stuff, headline news that's out there with new presidency coming in, tariffs, this or Doge headlines,
Yeah,
etc. Um, and just that kind of complex balance of what we're kind of seeing in the world.
no doubt.
Especially in January and February, almost like a hangover or something like that.
Plus, I
I don't
feel
know.
like 2024 was like really the year of AI, like really, for more like day to day people, um, like ChatGPT, and then you have like Gemini and Perplexity and like all the Claude and all these tools that became more widely used really in 2024. I think maybe that caused like a little pause in the market of like, hey, should we invest in ad dollars? Is this really going to like completely disrupt the business? Um, should we think about our marketing totally different than we have? And I feel like that's a lot of that has died down. To be totally honest, like I don't, I know we've chatted about this before, but I think the thought of like LLMs and AI just can completely eat search and like organic and paid is going to go away from Google search and Bing and all of those things. I don't think we're really seeing it like we thought maybe we would at this point in time. And I know we talked about this plenty of times before, but I feel like I find myself searching on LLMs much differently than I would have on a Google. Like I more so of like a research assistant or a collaborative partner or help for writing and those types of things where wouldn't have used Google for that in the past anyway. So I don't know, maybe there's an impact there of like we're starting to see how things are shaking out with LLM usage
Yeah,
and maybe that also has another factor here at play.
dude. So what's interesting talking about LLMs? Did I tell you about the lead we got this past week?
Yeah, you mentioned that to me the other day there, but it sounded like it came through Copilot,
Right, but I didn't mention
right?
it on the pod, right?
No,
Okay,
not on the pod.
yeah. So we had oh yeah, okay, we had a lead come in, and I'm pretty I track, like I see I look at real time, like log, not necessarily log files but sessions, etc., to kind of track people through. We've got a couple different tools that do that, like that R2B2, whatever it is.
RB to B.
Yeah, which is a hit or miss, but it's like, hey, we got someone on our side. I'll go look at my real time analytics through Pwix. Different than GA. I'll look at GA too, but I can kind of see, and if they got cookies open and I can see stuff, I can kind of see where they most likely came from. So I saw that they landed on one of our service pages. Is for investors relations, and I was like, oh cool, it's like an organic lead for that. I'm like, we have decent rankings for that, not first page, but maybe they're kind of doing a second page search. And that's where I thought they came through. And then I asked this individual towards the end of the initial call, like, hey, just curious on where you found us from. I think I know. And she said she actually started on Copilot on Bing. She's big into AI. I was like, wow, interesting. But I didn't see any referral traffic coming in from GA or my other analytics platform that I use, like no direct referral link. So I wasn't sure if there is a link that she clicked on and visited our website, or then she did a separate independent search on Google and then found us and then came through and converted. So I was like, holy hell, we actually had our first legit, like, LLM lead to come to our website, which is fantastic. And it got me thinking, like, whoa, what else could we do? It's kind of tough to say right now. It's like you just have to have the content on your site, keep doing what you're doing as far as promoting your brand, be it SEO, etc. And then the LMs will ingest that information, and then hopefully you rank higher in there. It's just hard to tell, but it's really interesting
Yeah,
to see.
that's really cool. I think I also find it like really annoying when I don't know. You see online of like individuals talking about like how to rank in an LLM and like here's exactly what to do. It's like it's just like such nonsense. Like I haven't heard anything that's really different than traditional SEO. Like I really haven't.
Create the content, put some authority behind it, be relevant because they are crawling the search engines to basically figure out what's what.
So do what you're always like, produce really good quality, unique content, authoritative content.
Yeah, time is going to be part of it too. Or like if you're a brand new brand and you're not there, like anything else, if you're new to the game, it's going to take a long time, potentially years, to become a relevant authority figure. Through it. So, because I just don't think those LLMs are using as sophisticated algorithms like Google search or Bing does. Where they're looking at click through rate in the search result. Maybe they're looking at your browser behavior, which is controversial in its sense, but we've talked about it before. But like browser behavior, like ChatGPT is not using Chrome browser data to figure out how good a website is, right? Where Google search does. So they're kind of still reliant on that. So yeah, we'll see.
It makes you wonder, like, because I think search in LLMs is pretty brutal. Um, like it's okay, but it's like I wouldn't be like, oh my God, this was so much of a better experience. Let me like completely stop using Google for this. Again, I use it completely differently.
So Google has a new mode that they're launching in beta. It's called AI mode,
Yeah, this is going to
uh,
be really interesting.
which I'm kind of all for on your note here because if they do segment it into its own, what they've called it in the past, funnel or silo, excuse me, silo, um, that they have a tab that's AI mode. That's more of like, hey, you're in a AI prompt screen now and interaction. I'm more of that of a fan because I think it's a different intent, right? Like if I'm searching for, I don't know if I'm getting an AI result, right? Um, but maybe I want to show my intent. I go to the AI mode, etc. And then depending on behavior, Google can then insert an AI search result for it. And it doesn't have to be the overview; it can be at the bottom. Because if you think about it, like the traditional search engine result, um, it's built in silos based on the different indexes they have, right? They have an index for video, they have an index for news, they have an index for images, they have an index for just normal organic results, and a couple other kind of indexes that they have are silos. And what you see
Sure.
on the first page or two of Google is that combination of those different silos put together. And a lot of times people don't realize that they're actually separate silos that have their own kind of traffic or entrances. Like if let me just go to Google real quick, and I'll just show this real quick. Give me a search term that I should look up. Give me anything.
Cybersecurity software.
So let me go to incognito tab here. All right, so we're going to do cyber security software. All right. Just kind of like breaking it down, like what does this look like? So you see these things up here: images, shopping, videos, news, short videos. That's kind of new. I wonder where they're pulling that from. Probably YouTube. Yep. Um, Forums, more web books. These are all different silos or indexes that they have. This first page result is a combination of all of them, right? This AI overview, which is interesting, that's here. That's going to be here now in the AI mode. Doesn't mean it has to be here. Like I think hopefully this gets it out of the normal first page results and puts it in somewhere else if people want to see this. Because I'm not a huge fan of how this looks. Um, so if we look at the different silos, these are normal organic results, normal organic results. Sometimes they'll throw it in. Here you go. Then you have your video silo that comes in. And even the organic results have some different kind of intents that they'll throw in there. Like there won't be all just businesses. There'll be like listicles that they'll throw in. Here's a forum. So if you go up here and you click forum, Actually, let's go back. So if we look at videos, right? Are these 3 videos the first videos that show up here? They tend to be. Let's see if they were. Not all of them. Yeah, a couple of them were, right? And if you click images, don't show up for this because it makes sense. You wouldn't really need to have images come up for this search result. That's there. Shopping doesn't make sense for shopping to come in here. But so if I do something else, actually forums, if I do forums, you're going to see Reddit is here. And this will be the exact same thread that's down here in Reddit, at least something similar. But if I do like running shoes, it's a little bit different result. It automatically kind of populates in more of the shopping section, but this is the shopping. So it's like their shopping funnel that gets in here. Their images, when images come up, let's see, images should be down here somewhere. And maybe they don't do images, but yeah, it's all different silos that are pieced together to make a normal search result. And so people don't realize that. So going back to our point about this AI tab, hopefully it gets siloed and it comes in once in a while. And maybe it's not the top thing, so it's completely dominating of it. Because I think that's what turns people off to that, is that it's just like, hey, no, sorry, you're going to get an AI result every single time you search something. Maybe I don't want it. I actually want to see what's in your index.
Right? Yeah, but you also got to think Google has so much data. They did 4 trillion searches last year, which breaks down to like, billions per day, just like absurd amount of searches. So you got to think how much like statistical significance they would get from search results of like, hey, we showed AI overviews up top here and we did it over here, and just like billions and billions and billions of searches. They're going to dial in like when is the best possible time to show that AI overview versus when it's not. Like I haven't really seen like that thing in the middle of the screen before, and maybe they notice like, I mean, I guess that is on incognito, so maybe that doesn't take into consideration your browsing history, but like maybe like, hey, Steve does not really interact with the AI overview often up top. Let's just slot it in the middle there.
So here's the thing. I feel like Google got freaked out. They had that whatever that code red meeting alert when ChatGPT came out, et cetera, that they're going to lose all their search share. So they needed to come out with some sort of AI product, and we're just going to shove it in front of everybody in the search results. I think it was an overreaction because at the end of the day, they make money on people clicking on ads, right? That was the whole thing. It's like, what the hell are we doing? We're taking this giant search result and moving it away. And
And the
it's like,
AI
people just,
overview now is a little different than what it was when it first rolled out. Like I remember when it first rolled out, it was like way worse.
yeah, and it's still pretty bad now. It's like the links are there, but people are interacting with it. I don't think it's needed every single time. People still like that traditional search result. So I think it was kind of an overreaction. Let's
Sure.
make sure people know that we have AI. ChatGPT, you don't have to go over there like, hey, we're going to show you it. Why didn't they release AI mode first? Is my point. Why did they put it in front of everybody? I think it was like an overreaction of like, hey, we don't really have it figured out, but we're going to put it here.
No doubt
Uh,
about it.
it's like, hey, AI mode makes more sense because obviously they have to protect their shareholders and the money that they make. So it's like having an AI mode actually protects the ads, the search results that are there, etc. So I am a little bit more optimistic that hopefully this AI mode becomes one of these more funnels or not funnels, but
Silos.
silos, excuse me, silo, that then people can interact as needed. And then if Google sees it's warranted to bring it in, they will bring it into the search result. But it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be this whole giant chunk up front because I do feel like it turns off the normal user potentially. It's my guess, my hypothesis. I could completely
It's
wrong.
interesting because I actually don't mind it that much. Like I actually like the AI overview. I've come to like enjoy it. Like I feel like it just gives some good like relevance of what I was looking for, and then a couple different links if I need to get some more intel. But like, I don't know. I don't see it so much differently as like the structured snippet where like you just get immediate answer of what you're looking for. Like
The one
I don't
box
know.
results, which are gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see where some people could be turned off, but I feel like Google did that because remember when they first rolled out Gemini, it was barred and like it was just not a good product at that time. So it probably just wasn't ready.
Yeah, that's true. Um,
You
yeah,
know what
and
is
maybe it's true. It's like the search queries too. Like, what are you searching that you enjoy interacting with it? Is it
no
more like
doubt.
informational search queries that you're going for? Sure, why not? That'll go away. We talked about that. But more of these transitional, like if you're actually looking for cybersecurity software, is an AI over result what you really want? I'm not sure. I
Which
don't
it
know.
makes sense why it wasn't up top there. Like I totally get it. Like there's some where it's like, yeah, we don't need an AI overview for this, but I think probably for like longer queries and like longer searches that are like much more in depth, AI overview probably makes more sense. But like short, quick, hitting terms, like not a lot of context there for like an AI overview to work with. Um, the other thing that I was going to say that would be really interesting with the AI overview page on Google is like essentially is that going to be their most up to date version of Gemini, that AI overview page? Like essentially what I'm trying to get at, what I'm trying to ask is like long term, is that Google search results page essentially the latest version of Gemini? And then if that's the case and that's free, I don't know if this is the case or not, but if that is that AI overview page going to be Gemini, which you could do everything that you would in a Claude or a ChatGPT, not everything like that like a normal person would need to do with it, like maybe advanced coding or like some like fringe stuff might not be great for it. Long-winded way of saying, does this then flip the script on ChatGPT and like all of these subscription businesses where it's like, why are we all paying for all of these different seats on ChatGPT throughout the company? My company can just use Gemini on Google results page for free. Like, let's just go with that.
It's a possibility. I can see that. That's an interesting thought.
Like, that would be such a gangster move from Google to be like, hey, ChatGPT, charge $20 a month for users. We just give it the same exact product or 95% of it for free. Just come to google.com.
Yeah. Hmm.
That would be tough to compete with. That would be really tough to. One's $20 a month, one's free. And then the other thing is, it's just immediate like customer acquisition. People are already going to Google and then they see, oh wow, there's this AI overview or not this AI, whatever they're going to call it, this AI tab. And that's their first introduction to like LLM. That would be really, really tough to compete with.
Yeah, I could see that. That's interesting. Um,
If you're Google, why would you not be thinking about that? Because then it's like, hey, we could eat a ton of traffic from all these other LLMs. And like, hey, maybe down the line, we get a bunch of adoption. We think about, a subscription to it or whatever, or some monetizing it somehow.
yeah,
But like,
monetization.
your ads business already prints 40, 50 billion quarterly for you. I'm sure you could take a little like margin hit and be okay.
Yeah, yeah,
To
yeah.
like, does that make sense though?
Yeah, it does. It does completely. I think it's
So that's
definitely
kind of that's
where
kind
we'll
of what
see
I
where it
think is going to
evolves.
happen.
Yeah. Hmm.
The other thing too that I wanted to note that was like really interesting is I forget where I heard this, but I heard this on some podcast that apparent. So Google has, I think it's DeepMind. They invested in that business like years ago, and DeepMind has a bunch of different products. I think DeepMind's working on Wemo and like a couple other. It's essentially like an engineering lab type
Yeah,
team.
let me pull up. Just look at it.
Apparently, I think it was DeepMind, but Google, again, I think it was DeepMind or it was Google, like one of the two, same difference
Yeah,
regardless.
Artificial Intelligent Research Lab. Yeah, okay.
Apparently, they found back in like 20, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, those days. Apparently, they just, I know I'm like completely butchering this and terrible at explaining this. They found like the underlying way for LLMs to operate. Like the way in which you could use ChatGPT and you could like have search functionality and you could interact with an AI and LLM. Apparently, that team discovered something. I don't know what that was. If that was some type of like math code or some type of coding or whatever. Apparently, they discovered how to do it, but then they killed it because they were like, hey, we could see this getting really scary and leading to like really bad things in society, and they killed it. And then apparently Sam Altman and his team found that, and that's what eventually sparked ChatGPT and OpenAI. So it was fascinating to hear that like Google almost killed their business because they made a discovery, made it public, and then didn't act on it. And then Sam Altman and OpenAI came across it.
Interesting.
I'm like kind of annoyed at myself for even like saying this without like having sources and like backing this up to explain this more. but that team came across how to essentially enable LLMs. I don't know if you're doing any searching right now to see if you
I'm
find
looking up
anything
like
interesting.
yeah,
Maybe we could like loop back to this one because it was really interesting to hear how that came to be.
interesting.
Just
I
like the
remember.
greatest business of all time could have potentially like killed itself.
Well, I remember at some point in time, God, what year was it that someone released that Google had created artificial intelligence, and they were freaked out about it. And this was before ChatGPT.
Yeah,
Uh, Maybe that was it. I remember like a guy was talking about it, like yeah, like he was having a conversation about it. It's when the AI was like not what it is today. It was like chatters about AI and artificial intelligence. They had said like Google, maybe it was DeepMind, like chatted. God, I wish I could find the news article. Yeah, what was that one? You almost have to go super way back in time, um, and see. There is this, where was? I'm sorry, I'm just on Google trying to find it. It's just tough because Google, at one point in Google, I want to go like search old stuff, right? um, like custom range. I want to do like from like I don't know when. Like you could change your date range, but if I do an advanced search, I guess I could do something about timelines. But I almost remember that there was a news article way back in the day about Google talking about. They won't show it now, obviously. But what was it that triggered? Like, if I could search Google for that terminology and then go back to whenever date it was, um, and find that news article on some website, right?
I gotta find. Yeah, I gotta figure this out.
Because I know that it did happen at some point. Google did have that. Um, can I change the custom range? Let's see from. Let's just go before. When was ChatGPT 2022 or 2020? No, wait, that was not 2020. Um,
It like really became like initially we started using it 2022. I want to say like the end of 22,
yeah, I'm gonna
because
search
then
this.
like the past 2 years has really been usage.
Yeah, so okay, let me just share my screen real quick. Share tab. So I searched from December, so 2020, 2010 to 2020, and I did Google AI. I don't know. So there was this creates an AI with imagination, developing AI capable of imagination, even chooses to see consequences of the action before they make it. Um,
Dude, maybe that is it. Maybe that's what I'm talking about.
that might be it. I'm
That like
curious.
might be it.
Like even if I search something on AI back then, ethical concerns. So it was Google, right? So it was AI DeepMind. Let's just search that. Energy and cooling data, DeepMind. Here we go. Yeah, the Guardian. Yeah, that can learn like a human.
I'm telling you, this is what it was, and like they came across all of this technology. Again, terrible at explaining this. That then powered ChatGPT's LLM, or like was the foundation for them to
Yeah, it's
build
a
that.
Wired article called "Google's DeepMind creates an AI with imagination." The AI firm is developing algorithms that simulate the human ability to construct plans. This is 2017, dude. Like, how crazy how far we've
Isn't
come.
that insane?
Yeah. So this other one article headline says Google's DeepMind makes AI program that can learn like a human. Program using artificial general intelligence, a step closer of using previous knowledge to solve fresh problems. So I want to say that there was another story that was like AI conversation happened.
DeepMind also is like one of the greatest brands of all time. Like that just sounds like such a cool company,
Yeah.
and like instills confidence. Like DeepMind, they'll figure that out.
Yeah. I just remember a Google engineer saying he had a conversation with
This
new
probably
AI.
wasn't that far ago.
So new AI can have a real conversation with. Let me see what this just says. Whoa, it's a YouTube video. So okay, that's
Wait, that was from 2018, right there.
yeah.
Wow.
So here we go. Facebook and Google both shut down AI chatbot. Let's see.
What does it say? Because what? because they created their own language. Oh, dude, I remember hearing this one as well.
Yeah.
AI is just creating their own language and then communicating in a language that humans could not like understand or figure out. That's insane to think about.
Yeah.
You know what else that I heard recently on that topic there is I think the Neuron, that newsletter just put this out the other day that like these LLMs are now pretty good at understanding if they're being tested, like if they're actively like you could run different like
Yeah.
benchmarks and training
Yeah.
tests. They have figured out like when they're actually in training, and then they can lie for their responses to either get through training or to put things off. And dude, it really does make you wonder of like where does like what is considered like life or not, you know? In that sense, like if these AIs are creating their own language and they know like when they're being tested and then they can lie, it's like that's wild.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we found the story because we weren't crazy. I still didn't find the exact story. I think it was a Google engineer that had talked to AI and like it said it was conscious. This was before ChatGPT. But how fast? How I mean, that's nuts. Like how crazy fast things are moving in that sense. I just don't know where it's going to be in five,
Who
10 years.
knows?
Yeah, like we've
Yeah,
talked
who
about
knows? I
quite a
do
bit.
think though, I do think like the major shift that we've talked about a bunch is you know, there's so many different platforms and like getting click through rates on like your traditional search or like a meta ad is more difficult, and how you just need to have like organic content like across every channel and really have a presence. I saw somebody post recently that that's essentially like your new SEO. Instead of like making content and writing blogs to generate traffic, that's a little bit more top of funnel for like your website, your LinkedIn posts, your Twitter posts, your Facebook posts, like all of those, like that is like your top of funnel. Like those impressions are kind of like blog sessions back in the day.
Yeah,
So
no, sure, I see it.
I don't think we're going to get to the point where, at least anytime soon, meaning like the next like year to three, where like LLM just completely kill Google search business by any means. But I do think we're probably just going to continue to go down this path of like so many different platforms, video, text, and you just need to be present everywhere and have an organic strategy in place. Like that's, you know, it just is what it is at this point. Like you just, if you're a business owner, like that's something that you have to be thinking about and figuring out. And I will say, just like, you know, tying it back from the top of the conversation around podcasting and how it's tough to have like a thumbnail and a theme and immediately hit that, and like the organization of that process there. Kind of like, dude, what I think about organic social is like it is such a beast to manage and much more complicated than what it seems like off the, you know, from the outset of like, hey, we're just making Facebook posts. Well, it's like a
Yeah.
lot more in depth than that and time consuming than that.
Oh, it is. Yeah, 100%. Well, I think that's a good way to cap the end stone for this episode.
Cool. Well, we'll have a guest on next week. Steve will not be here, and then yeah, we'll try and figure out some interesting guests moving forward and some topics, and just keep this thing rolling on the week to week basis. We might get a little theme song or like a little intro thing that we put
Great
in the
idea.
video. Gonna try and figure that out, and then maybe some updated thumbnails there. But that's probably a good place to end it there.
All right, right on.
Alrighty, folks.